Tulsa King season 3 is a wrap. I want to talk a little bit about the finale in particular, but let me say this is a show that should be great. This is a show that had such a great start in season 1, creating such an interesting character brought to life by Sylvester Stallone, that Dwight Manfredi, this man that had sacrificed 25 years of his life by not doing anything wrong and serving his time in prison, then being dispatched out to Tulsa, Oklahoma, building something his own, kind of putting him as odd with the corrupt leadership in New York. Everything was really set to have a really remarkable run. I think there were some steps back in season 2 because they kind of got away from some of the main characters and started introducing all these side things. And then it culminated with a season 3 where it seemed like we were fixing some things but making new problems. For instance, there's this big subplot with the feds. There's all the different character arcs with different little mini adventures of the week and things that they keep doing. And here we end up with, will he or will he not come into conflict with Dunmire? How will it all shape out at the end? What will be the setup for moving things forward and all of that? So, give you my takes on all that right now. All right, I'm not going to hide the lead here. It feels like the creators are so full of themselves by bringing in Samuel L. Jackson here at the end as this hitman brought in by the New York mob to kill Dwight. Doesn't kill Dwight because they're super tight buds dating back to their prison days where Dwight had saved him. Sam Jack kind of phones it in where he's basically just playing the same old character he always is. He's super cool. He's super believable. He's got a lot of attitude. All that works pretty fine, but at the end of the day, it didn't really matter too much to the story because we don't really do anything with the mob. The mob people don't really come up again. They had all the stuff that had allegedly happened. The episode where, there was an attempt on Dwight's life by Dunmire's son Cole. It failed. Hitman are there. They turn on the people that were hired to kill them, and they're going to just go about their lives like nothing ever happened. It is a little disappointing, but that's not the only disappointment that we get in this wrap up of season 3. One of the biggest things is all season long, we've had all these little story arcs and threads. We had a thing with Tyson where Tyson's still trying to basically be a thug. He wants to be a mafioso made guy, has to be an earner, right? And they rob those college kids of some drugs. They make some money holding a little, ecstasy night. You have a little bit of here with, this is the girl that kind of brought them into the bourbon thing, right? They bring all that in for Mitch, former girlfriend. Jarrett Hudlin is fantastic. There's just not enough of them on screen to kind of wrap up the story arcs. They basically end up with this run and gun, shoot 'em up action thing at the end of the season. So before I get into the heavy spoilers, just remember they've kidnapped Joanne, his sister. They're going to basically have this sort of cat and mouse back and forth, negotiate what they're going to do, you're not going to do. It's like, okay, just get on with it already. I was so disappointed that we really didn't do anything interesting. I also feel like they've set up all this Fed stuff and totally missed the obvious element of one phone call to the Fed guys would have been, hey, listen, they got my sister there hostage, like bring her in a kidnapping. The dude had just been arrested by assaulting the assistant DA, got out of jail. Yes, he's a crime lord, sheriff's under his, but whatever. Fine, call the Fed guy. You've set up Kevin Pollak as this sort of like quasi rogue Fed agent who evidently has dirt on everybody. That now, because of this bomb story arc thing that they've worked through Dwight, kind of has this tit for tat type relationship. We don't do any of that. We're just going to have this big action storm the castle kind of thing. They get some guns, and ultimately you have this climax to the entire season, which is basically like the revenge element from episode 1 when Dunmire had done that to the girl's dad, burned the whole place down. So guess what happens to him? I don't know about anyone else. I thought all this was stupid, and it's such a letdown. It's such a letdown that we didn't have any complexity or interest, that just like it was just some dumb shoot 'em up thing. And then be honest, Samuel Jackson's character is cutting jokes all the time because he's so good, right? So he's got guys that are running away, so he's going to literally shoot them in the back because that makes, the anti-hero so much more likable, and how cool he is talking about them being, oh, just a little further before he takes them out. It's like I I understand that we're going to have some of this, but there's no interesting elements to kind of any of this. Want to see more Bodhi? Want to see some more characters? Nope, not really going to get any of that. Cole just shows up with the girl that he had been. Remember the nameless waitress that kind of comes and goes on screen that they all like and helps set up the ecstasy night. They show up, confess that what's going on. He pulls a piece of paper and says, "Draw this map exactly where everybody is, whatever." And they storm the castle. It's like we don't really know what happens to any of these characters. No one gets a real nice. It's all Stallone. That's it. It's so much in his head and all that. The Thresher candidacy with and Margaret's role and all that. It's just all so. And by the way, remember Frank Grillo's in this show and Bill Bevilacqua, who is his KC partner and all that. He was picked up by the feds to kind of prevent Bill from outing the fact that Dwight has at least had conversation with the feds. We don't address any of that either. We just leave all that stuff completely unresolved. And I don't mean any of this is unresolved in like an interesting way, like we're going to look forward to it, what happens next. Just don't talk about it. Just nothing happens. It's just such a generic, small, one-dimensional, underwhelming close to the season. Like I kind of felt like, is there another episode? Like, is that really the end? I literally checked again to make sure that I didn't misread something and there was like another episode. That's how, because the previous episodes were actually pretty good. You felt like they were moving through and maybe setting up a little bit more conflict with New York. Maybe they could have done something differently with Dunmire. I actually thought the Tyson ecstasy thing would actually come into play. Like maybe that was secretly like some Dixie Mafia stuff that they'd kind of messed up and created even more conflict there. I gotta be honest, there's no real stakes that mattered. No main characters died. No, everything was like quasi threats that don't like just kind of work themselves out. Dwight took care of the bond maker. He's quote dead. No one's going to find him. It was such a stupid on the nose thing because you feel like someone's 100% going to find him. You just feel like they bring it up more than once in such a awkward direct way. You feel like, oh yeah, they're totally just going to bring that up again. So I don't know. I don't know anybody else. I feel like this is a show. I was going through a recap here to see if I really missed anything, and I really don't feel like I missed much of anything because I don't feel like anything really matters. And this show should just be so great. There's so much there. It should be a 4 out of 5 show. Season 1 started so strong. It had some bumps in the road. I had covered that during my episodic reviews. Season 2 was a step back, like I talked about, kind of like shiny object syndrome, where like all these new characters we're going to focus on and not what makes the show really, really good. And they kind of seemed like they were fixing some of that and then just didn't do anything. So part of me feels like this season is hindered because maybe it was a shorter season and they wanted to fill it out and here add a couple things. And we had these random moments. Hey, go off to the bingo parlor and go off to the ecstasy night and go off and do. There's no one dies. No real stakes matter. There were way more stakes at the end of season 2. Way more stakes and twists that came through season 1 into season 2. Season 3 was pretty much exactly what you would expect to have happen. Robert Patrick was good when he was on screen. It kind of got tedious because it would become so predictable. I have to be honest, he didn't even hurt Joanne. I was expecting because there's just they kept playing with this axe, and I figured, well, that's how he's going to get killed is with that axe, or he was actually going to hurt Joanne, like cut off a finger or something he couldn't go back on that would trigger Dwight. No, nothing interesting ever happened. Nope, just kind of like one little letdown after another little letdown. So it isn't a big problem. The show is not terrible. Don't get me wrong. We're talking about the difference between like Midland and great. So it becomes like a C something like for me. Just okay. Yeah, it's all right. It's just it should be good if not great. And it's just not. And that's kind of disappointing because there's so many good moments and good elements. They're just not unpacked it and really they don't deliver on anything. And we have way more unanswered questions and plot hole points and stuff like that to deal with. Not in a good way. Just I feel like I'm being neglected. Not like, oh, this has been set up. I can't wait to see how they pay it off. I don't know if they'll ever pay it off. So that's my general take on it. Love to hear from you guys. Thanks for watching, everybody. I am Pops.
Adios, amigo.